Welcome back. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're completely bypassing all that modern internet folklore to uncover the truth about a fascinating, highly pragmatic medieval wealth ritual. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here as we conduct a strict, manuscript-based deep dive into the Vibrahma Yakshini Sadhana. We're going straight to the ancient texts, cutting through centuries of rumors to figure out exactly what is, and honestly, what isn't documented about this highly esoteric practice.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. The Tantric Yakshini tradition, 2. Attributes of Vibrahma Yakshini, 3. The original Sanskrit verses, 4. Ritual rules and procedures, 5. Fruits and textual comparisons, and 6. Disclaimers and concluding thoughts. All right, starting with Section 1, the Tantric Yakshini tradition. Let's get grounded in the actual historical placement of these spiritual entities. So take a look at this. It brilliantly illustrates exactly where our subject fits into the grander esoteric hierarchy. What you're seeing is page 36 of the classical Uddamataswada Tantra, which catalogs a very specific list of 36 Yakshinis. And there's Vibrahma sitting right near the very top. She's listed as the second of the 36, directly following Vichitra. Discovering this exact placement is super exciting because it proves she's a firmly established, highly specific figure in the classical pantheon, not just some localized folklore legend, you know? To briefly contextualize this, the Kaksaputa Tantra introduction establishes that the cult of the Yakshini was actually a vital, thriving component of the medieval tantric world. We're talking widespread practice across Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. Now, these entities were primarily worshipped as goddesses of wealth or as guardian spirits. Unlike other figures that practitioners sought out for, say, profound philosophical enlightenment, Yakshinis were traditionally invoked for highly pragmatic, immediate worldly benefits. Literally, we're talking about raw wealth, daily survival, and protection. Moving right along to Section 2, Attributes of Vibrahma Yakshini. Let's define her exact characteristics, strictly as they are described in our primary texts. The manuscripts distill her essence with incredible efficiency. There's no wasted breath here. According to Chapter 14 of the Kaksaputa Tantra, her Sanskrit name, Vibrahma, translates directly to the amorous one. Consequently, her appearance is explicitly described in the text as having an amorous appearance, or Vibrahmangata rupe. As for her residence or place of appearance, the text distinctly locates her sadhana in a cemetery, shmashane. Finally, her nature is described quite simply. She is easily satisfied by the specific offerings of the practitioner. There's just this fascinating minimalism to how the ancient authors capture her identity. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what's missing. Modern occult websites love to assign elaborate, made-up details to these entities, but looking strictly at our classical sources, there are explicit gaps. Specific clothing, jewelry, weapons, symbols, or even the practice of worshiping her specifically as a mother, sister, wife, or daughter. This information was not mentioned in the available source. As strict researchers, we absolutely must stick only to what the ancient manuscripts provide, resisting the urge to fill in the blanks ourselves. That brings us to Section 3, the original Sanskrit verses. Let's transition over to the core linguistic evidence found in the Kaksaputa Tantra. Here is the direct textual evidence from page 104 of Chikoyama Nona's translation of the Kaksaputa Tantra. The original Sanskrit from Chapter 14, verse 7 reads, Lakshadvayam japan manstram, shmashane nibrito nishi, vivramato ayati panchanshan manushe saman, dadati pojanam dravyam pratyaham shankaro bravit. Just to ensure total clarity for everyone, here is the exact, simple English translation of that verse. A mantran with a fearless mind should recite the mantra 200,000 times in a cemetery and offer gugaloo with clarified butter into a fire. Then, Vibrahma is satisfied and she always gives food for 50 people. It is remarkably straightforward and transactional, isn't it? It strips away any convoluted mysticism to focus entirely on the action and the result. And right here is the precise classical mantra exactly as it was recorded in the manuscript. Again, we do not use modern approximations or reconstructions here. It is Om Hrim Vibrame Vibramang Garupe Vibramam Kuru Rhyme to Bhagavati Swaha. The phrase rhyme to simply indicates that the word should be repeated twice. Honestly, uncovering this authentic sonic key provided by the ancient authors is what makes this kind of primary source analysis so incredibly rewarding. Let's shift our focus to Section 4, Ritual, Rules, and Procedures, where we look at the rigorous methodologies required for this specific sadhana. So the crucial point here is how chronological and specific these classical instructions actually are. First off, the practitioner must go to a cemetery at night. Second, their mental state is strictly defined. They have to maintain a fearless mind. Third, the chanting requirement is just immense, reciting the exact mantra 200,000 times. And finally, the specific puja material involves offering guggulu resin mixed with clarified butter into a fire. It is a procedure that clearly demands extreme dedication and environmental isolation.
But once again, we have to rigorously point out what the classical text leaves out. If you are looking for complex visualization meditation forms, specific physical postures, directional facings, astrological dates, or rigid dietary fasting and purification rules for this specific ritual, well, this information was not mentioned in the available source. The text is surprisingly minimalist, focusing purely on location, mindset, repetition, and the specific fire offering.
This brings us to Section 5, Fruits and Textual Comparisons. Let's do a comparative analysis of the outcomes achieved through this practice. And this brilliantly illustrates the consistency across these ancient texts. When we compare the Kalkasaputa Tantra's 7th verse with the parallel Kamarapnatna Tantra, specifically Chapter 15, both primary manuscripts are in total agreement. The ultimate fruit or boon of perfecting the Yakshini Sadhana is identical. She grants the ability to provide daily food for 50 people. To put that into perspective, in a medieval context, the ability to effortlessly feed a small community every single day was a massive display of wealth, power, and divine favor. It speaks directly to the socioeconomic realities and pure survival desires of that era. Finally, we reach Section 6, Disclaimers and Concluding Thoughts. As we wrap up this explainer, I need to guide you through some absolutely critical academic and safety parameters. While modern folklore and contemporary storytelling often speak of grand, terrifying tests, elaborate visions, specific dreams, or demonic temptations during a Yakshini Sadhana, we must state strictly from a scholarly perspective that this information was not mentioned in the available source. The classical authors of the Kaksuputa and Kamaratna Tantras simply do not document these subjective experiences or obstacles for Vibrama Yakshini. Furthermore, as an explainer dedicated to the objective study of esoteric history, I must deliver this mandatory warning with the utmost seriousness. Vedmata AI does not endorse the practice of any Yakshini sadhana without a qualified guide, initiation, and proper classical understanding. These texts represent powerful historical traditions that demand immense respect and scholarly care. As we strip away the modern myths today, we're left with a raw, highly transactional view of medieval survival and power. It really makes you wonder, what other ancient spiritual practices have been entirely romanticized by modern interpretations? On behalf of the Vedmata AI family, if you found our presentation informative, please share our video as widely as possible so that the authentic knowledge of Indian Vedic texts can reach the masses. Let us all participate in this yajna of knowledge. Har Har Mahadev.